Hi everyone, welcome. For each topic, I'll be asking you to view these short video clips, like this one where I summarize what I call the big takeaways. Now this often involves pulling together some big ideas across multiple chapters so that you see the bigger picture of mental health and our chosen treatment interventions. So please watch these videos for each module coming up, okay? So to begin, the big takeaways for chapter 1 on abnormal behavior are these. Takeaway number 1, we detect abnormality, this concept of abnormality, by considering the criteria used to determine abnormal behavior. That's the 3 Ds: deviance, discomfort, and dysfunction. Now, deviance is always present. This is why we even notice a behavior in a person to begin with, right? Something deviant, something statistically rare, unusual. One other D, that is discomfort or dysfunction, is usually enough for a diagnosis of abnormality. For example, imagine a person who genuinely believes that the governor of Texas is the devil himself, truly believes this. But this person only complains, tells other people about it, and it kind of wishes out loud somebody would do something about it. This is deviance in thought, right? That's pretty unusual to think the governor of Texas is the devil. But he is not deeply distressed by this, except for complaining. And he does nothing about it, certainly nothing dysfunctional. Now let's change this example a little bit. What if this same man decides to murder the person he believes is the devil? Because he believes by doing this he could secure himself a place in heaven at the right hand of God by killing the devil incarnate here on earth. So he plans to assassinate the governor of Texas. Okay, now we have a problem because now this person has become dysfunctional. Their behavior is dysfunctional. He's about to break the law. Now we have a diagnosable disorder. Deviance plus 1, and the 1 is dysfunction. Deviance plus one of the others determines that here we have abnormality. Now surely there are conditions where all 3 criteria are met, that is where all 3 Ds are present. Imagine, for example, a deeply sad person with major depressive disorder, depression, with constant sad thoughts and low mood. Now that's deviant. To always have sad thoughts and low mood for long periods of time. This person claims to be miserable because of this. In other words, they're claiming distress, the second D. And they cannot work or care for their family. That would be dysfunction. This is deviance plus both of the others, plus distress and dysfunction. Now remember that if it does not meet the criteria used to determine abnormal behavior, which is the 3 Ds, the observed deviance actually qualifies as normal. It's only abnormal when you've got deviance plus 1. So if it doesn't meet that criteria, even though it might be deviant, it actually qualifies as normal, meaning that we call it normal. Even something that can look very strange, very deviant, even quite bizarre, without distress or dysfunction, it's okay. It's considered normal. So people can be pretty deviant because deviance is not enough to diagnose because it does not meet our criteria for abnormal, deviance plus 1. So that's takeaway number 1. Takeaway number 2 from this chapter, this opening chapter. Remember, big idea, that abnormal and normal are on the same continuum of human experience. Think of it like a straight line, a continuum. Abnormal is just of greater intensity and greater duration. Thoughts, feelings, behavior, whatever it may be. But we recognize these thoughts and feelings and perceptions in their mild forms as part of a normal human experience. It's the extremes that draw our attention and make us think about abnormality. Now lastly, takeaway number 3 here, I ask you yourself to guard against what we call the medical student syndrome in this class. Oftentimes, we can empathize with the difficulties that we're reading about manifested in the symptoms of a mental illness. Now, this can easily turn into wondering if I, have the disorder that I'm reading about. This can really sneak up on you in class, so I'm not kidding around here. So please remember that a real disorder is an extreme condition, a debilitating, distressing, dysfunctional condition. It's unlikely that you experienced or are experiencing one of the disorders that we talk about this semester, unless there was some serious disturbance in your life, some serious distress or dysfunction. We can acknowledge, and we do as human beings, acknowledge our occasional nearness to a clinical syndrome. That is, we can see the link between us and the patients, the similarity, if you will. That's not uncommon. I invite you to watch for this, please, as we go through the semester. So to summarize, the big takeaways from Chapter 1 are these. Number 1, we detect abnormality by considering the criteria used to determine abnormal behavior, and that's the 3 Ds. Deviance plus one more, either discomfort or dysfunction, sometimes all 3 together. Anything that has not met the criteria, deviance plus 1, would be considered normal, even if it's rather strange. Number 2, remember that normal and abnormal are on the same continuum of human experience. Abnormal is just of greater intensity and greater duration, that's all. And lastly, watch out for that medical student syndrome. Thinking that you may have one of these disorders. Experiencing difficulties in your life doesn't mean you have or had the disorder that we're talking about in our textbook. Those are the big takeaways from Chapter 1 on abnormal behavior. Thanks, everybody.